Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Taylor, or welcome if you are new. So today's video is going to be a reading vlog. I'm so excited to try to do this again. It's been a while since I've done one. I was pregnant, if you didn't know, and I'm slowly getting back into the groove of making YouTube videos. And so this will be my first vlog postpartum. So we'll see how it goes. It is a little bit of a challenge to find the time to film, but we're going to see how it goes. So I really wanted to read Indigo Isle. I've had my eye on it for a while, and so I thought I would make a themed reading vlog with me reading this book from start to finish, and then also making it a South Carolina themed vlog. This book is set in South Carolina. I'm a South Carolinian. I have always lived in South Carolina. My family has. I'm actually a fourth generation South Carolina resident. And I was trying to think of how to word that, but yeah, that's right. So strong family history is here, and I just love my state. It's my home. I'm really passionate about it, being a Southern girl in the state of South Carolina. So I had heard, well, first of all, I had seen the cover for this book, and isn't it gorgeous? Like, I love all the blue. Blue is my favorite color, and like the contrast and the design, and I don't know, it just calls to me. And then I realized it was set in South Carolina, and then I learned what the premise was, so I was very intrigued. So I'm going to read it real quick, just because I feel like it will be a lot more coherent than me trying to explain what it's about. So, Sunny Bates left South Carolina 15 years ago and never looked back. Now she's a successful Hollywood location scout who travels the world finding perfect places for movie shoots. Home is wherever she lands, and between her busy schedule and dealing with her boss's demands, she has little time to think about the past until her latest gig lands her a stone's throw away from everything she's left behind. Searching off the coast of Charleston for a secluded site to film a key scene, Sunny wanders onto a private barrier island and encounters its reclusive owner, known by the locals as the Monster of Indigo Isle. What she finds is a man who is much more complex than the myth. So there's a little bit more, but I think that's enough to pique my interest at least. So I'm really hoping to pull in some things about South Carolina, some of my family history maybe. Maybe do a bit of cooking. I don't know. We'll see, like I said, what I can do. But at least I want to give you my reactions to this recent release. Oh, and I wanted to tell you about how I got this book, because it's kind of a slightly funny story. So if you'll see, it is a signed copy. Well, this is my very first signed copy that I've bought myself. I've gotten some as gifts, but this is the first one that I've gotten myself. And like I said, I've had this on my radar for a while, and I follow T.I. Lowe on Facebook, and she had posted that she was at Sunset Beach at a bookstore there, and it was the same time that my family was at Sunset Beach. We go every year, but we obviously, my husband and my daughter and I could not go this year since she's a baby, and that would not be a good idea, so we didn't get to go this year. Hopefully we can next year, but anyways, my family was there, so I was like, oh my gosh, I could get a signed copy, like actually signed by the author. So I asked them to pick me up a copy. Well, there weren't any left by the time they got there. So I was like, oh, I missed out. So, oh well. So it was like a week or two later, she posted that she was in the upstate at an event at a library in the upstate. I keep repeating myself, I'm sorry. Lack of sleep. So, yeah, so she was going to be at an event, a library event. And I was like, oh man, I can't go because I already had plans that day. Otherwise, I would have made the special trip there. Because I've never been to an author event before. Like, nobody comes to upstate South Carolina, hardly, like, not that I know of at least, not the books I want to read. So, you know, I'm so jealous of y'all that live in big cities, although I would not want to live in a big city. It's not my thing, but one of the perks of being in a big city is that you get to go to author events. So there's that, but nobody ever comes over here. So yeah. So I didn't get to go to that, but I did see on her Facebook page that she was in the upstate area, and she stopped by a Barnes & Noble, and I was like, this is my chance. So I suckered my brother into picking it up because he lives really close to that Barnes & Noble location. And sweet guy that he is, he grabbed me a copy, and it is, ta-da! Yay! So that's my little story of trying to get this book. Finally got it. So it definitely deserves its own reading vlog just for that reason, I think. But anywho, just wanted to give you this quick little intro to this reading vlog. Fingers crossed I can do everything I hope to, and y'all can enjoy. So catch you in the next clip. Okay, so I have read the first couple of chapters. I think I'm on chapter 3. But I wanted to stop real quick and give my thoughts on these first few chapters because I'm having a good time. There's lots of Southern vibes and South Carolina and Charleston specific. So I love connecting with a story this way because I know what the author is talking about. To an extent, I would say, because I do live in South Carolina, but I live in the upstate, and this is set in the Charleston area, the Low Country, which is a little bit different, but my family, we used to go every spring and to visit Charleston, and it's one of my favorite spots to vacation and visit. There's just something about it that's like the perfect combination of history and nature combined. I love Rainbow Row. I love we call it the dungeon. I think it's like the exchange or something, what it's actually called. And like the market and all the artisans' creations and the Benny Wafer cookies and the cobblestone streets and the churches and the cemeteries, the Spanish moss. I've never been to Magnolia Gardens, but one day I will go. It is absolutely beautiful from the pictures I've seen. So I love Charleston. I don't think I would ever live there just because it's a big city, not my thing, but it is a great place to visit. And the last time I went was 2 years ago for a marriage retreat, and we went, my husband and I, as part of that, we went to the South Carolina Aquarium, and we fed the manta rays, stingrays, whatever they're called, stingrays, I think. Manta rays, stingrays, are those the same thing? I don't know. Some kind of creature. I can't think. Like I said, I don't get much sleep these days, so forgive me. But we got to feed them, and it was the strangest experience. So if you ever go to a aquarium, even the South Carolina Aquarium, I would recommend that you try that out because it's fun. I recommend it. But anywho, back to the book. So it opens up with Sunny, the main character. She is scouting out locations in, specifically in this scene, she is at a cemetery, and she has an assistant who is not feeling South Carolina or Charleston. The heat is getting to her, and I think it's the quote in here says, a heat unique to the Low Country, disguising itself as a body of water without having enough clout to pull it off. Oh, but it had no problem pulling off misery. If that ain't the truth. Because other places are hot, but when you combine it with the humidity, my family says it's like breathing in a wet rag. Like, and it's pretty bad up here in the upstate, but it's even worse in the Low Country. So I can definitely agree with that statement. But it's talking about her assistant's name is Lyrica, and from what I can tell, she's kind of bratty. Like, she's very self-entitled and complaining, but she's like dying from this heat, and that is definitely true because if you are not a local, like, you have a little bit of a trouble, like, with dealing with the humidity and the heat. So let's see. So Sunny has to, the reason why she has this project is because somebody else messed up and they got fired, so she's having to take over, trying to set things right. And so the cast and crew's hotel rooms got sent, the reservation was at the wrong place, like a low cost, rundown budget motel situation, which is not going to cut it for some high paid actors. So she investigates this motel to see if this is actually where the reservation is, and she meets the owner, and the owner's name is Erlene, Erlene. And I've never heard of Erlene before, but the lean part of names is very Southern. I've heard of Charlene, Darlene. My Mima's name was Arlene, but I haven't heard of Erlene before. So when I heard that, I've basically been listening to this through the audiobook, and I do recommend it because the narrator's voice has the Southern drawl. It's done pretty well, and her voice isn't annoying. So I've learned that a lot lately with audiobooks. Like, if I'm going to listen to you for hours on end, your voice needs to have a nice sound to it. But anyways, I do recommend the audiobook. Let's see. But I did want to point out another quote. My husband's about to walk in, I think, but I'm just checking on him. But anyways, I think this quote kind of captures how I feel about Charleston really well, too. Charleston wasn't just a place to visit, but an experience that engaged all the senses. Sights filled with historic relics and vast waterfront views. The aroma of briny air and an earthy pungency of marshland nearby with hints of fragrant sweetgrass. The savory taste of low-country cuisine with spicy influence of Gullah culture. The texture of humid days and silky nights. The raucous sounds of seagulls harmonizing with ships passing through the harbor. And that was just scratching the surface of the experience. And then later on it says, truly, South Carolina is one of those states that has a little of it all. Islands, beaches, farmlands, national forests, and waterfalls. No wonder the rest of the country finally decided the small state was worth a second look. That sums it up pretty well. Like, Charleston is an experience. And like I said, I love my state just because you get a little bit of everything. Like exactly what it says. I live up higher, so closer to the mountains, but the beach is within three hours. We're right smack, well, I am right smack in the middle of Atlanta and Charlotte, so I can have access to the greater metropolitan area if I wanted to. But yeah, it's just a unique little place to live and experience. But I would love to know if you've ever been to South Carolina, what part, specifically if you've been to Charleston, since this is what this book is about. I'm just really curious if anybody has visited. So let me know, but I'm going to continue reading and see what else is going to happen. So see you in a minute. Hello, so it is the next day, and I thought I'd share with you some things, I guess you could say, from my family history. I think I mentioned before that my grandmother passed away back in December. Her name was Arlene, and she was a lifelong South Carolina resident. She was a real Southern lady, bless your hearts, and she was a great cook and baker. She was actually how I learned to bake. I remember her teaching me when I was about 12 years old, and she taught me a lot of the tips and tricks that I use today. And I love baking in general. I love the process. I love tasting everything. But now that pastime has become even more special to me because that is something that we shared a long time ago. So, so I wanted to share a couple of things that I have gotten because my family is trying to save everything we can from her estate, disseminating it through the family. So I've gotten a few things, and I wanted to share those with you because, I don't know, I think family history is really interesting, like knowing the little stories behind it. And those memories get lost over time, especially if, they don't stay with the family. And knowing your roots and all that, I think is really important. So I just wanted to share that with y'all just because of the theme. And so here we go. So the first thing I want to show is this table and chair set plus bench. This was made by my papa. This table actually was made from the flooring of a mill he used to work at. I think they were like redoing or remodeling or something, and he managed to get this piece of wood when they were doing that, and he refinished it and made it into this table. And my family has eaten at this table for about 50 years, so it's seen a lot of family memories, but it's also extra special because it has South Carolina history in it too. If you didn't know, South Carolina and other southern states too used to have a lot of textile mills back in the day. That's how a lot of people had jobs. And actually my family, both of my grandparents on both sides, both my parents, that's how they were employed. They worked for a mill, a textile mill. So that's no longer a thing really, textile mills, but that was part of South Carolina history. Is we used to have textiles here. And yeah, so there's that. And I think it, I'm biased, but it is a gorgeous table, and we're really happy to have it in our home now. Okay, so like I said, we literally have just gotten some things from my Mima's house, but her silverware I thought was always so pretty. But I asked for her silverware, no one else wanted it, and it's at least 50 years old, the real deal. They don't make stuff like this anymore, for sure, the flimsy stuff, so I will add that to a set from my great-grandmother's, and I'll show you that in a second. So this is what my great-grandmother's set looks like, and I've had this for a while. She passed several years ago, but hers has white flowers on it, and so these are my Mima's. So this was her mother, so daughter and mother, but they're both at least 50 years old, and I think they're both very pretty in their own way. So this is the one thing that I really wanted from my Mima's, is her cookbook. And as you can tell, she used it quite a bit. It is well loved. It has seen some action. She was definitely a cook. This was her main cookbook, and printed in the USA. Betty Crocker, and 1956. It's really cool. You can see how they used to make cookbooks. An oldie but a goodie. Oh look, here's a recipe she actually wrote for oatmeal cookies. She did some math here. But this recipe, that is the recipe I learned how to bake on. She used this one to teach me, so I remember that one very well. Got some other ones over here that she had. Carolina Cuisine. And this one is from Anderson, South Carolina in 1969. And this one's really cool because it has like these neat little dividers separating the different sections. Like, isn't that so cute? Like, it's so, I don't know, drawn so well. Cute. Chicken salad, hot chicken souffle, pound cake, old Kentucky jam cake, applesauce cake, grapefruit congealed salad, French toast. Like, we Southerners know how to cook. Well, I say that generally speaking, but we got some good recipes, some good home cooking. There's that one. Collard greens, watermelons, and Miss Charlotte's pie. This one, I think, was, yeah, United Methodist Church, 1993. Has like a history of the church. Do y'all have this other places besides the South? I know this is a big thing in the South where you have like recipe books for churches, but I didn't know if that was a thing elsewhere. It's really cool, I think, because it's like, you know, your history, like your church history, and pass it along and things like that. Southern raised biscuits. Kiss me cake. Some of these I've never heard of, but some of them are very familiar. Sweet potato casserole, collards. It's almost overwhelming how much stuff is in all of these. Like, I want to try them all. But these ones have, like, this cookbook has, like, let me see if I can find it, like, little history segments in here, which is really cool. Substitutions, industries of the sea. When I have some more time, I can dive into this more, but I just wanted to flip through it real quick. Men's favorites by men. Okay. Herb guide. Some cool stuff in here, not just the recipes themselves, but quotes from different people in here. Shrimp reel. I think this is so fun. Like, I think I was flipping through it and I saw like 10 different versions of chicken casserole. More than one way to do things, I suppose. Crackling cornbread. Chocolate pistachio cake. Pina colada cake. Chocolate crinkle cookies. Like, this is my section, yeah, for sure. My interest is much more piqued with the dessert section. And then this one I think is perfect for this vlog because, hello, South Carolina recipes and remembrances. This one is not as old, but it's got some cool stuff in here. I think there's one thing I wanted to show y'all. I was flipping through a good old batch of collard greens. There's just some cool stuff. Broccoli chicken casserole. I think. Okay, this isn't the part I was thinking about, but chicken and rice. See, there's different people's ways of doing it. Chicken broccoli casserole. Chicken rice casserole. Chicken casserole. Here's what I'm talking about. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, close to 10. Figure out which one's the best out of the 9. But helpful hints. But this cookbook, y'all, this is my kind of cookbook. Literally, almost half the cookbook is sweets. Like, all of this is sweets. Oh, no cooked banana pudding, 300 red cake, coconut cake. I saw something in here earlier that was kind of funny. Almost heaven cake, apple cake. I think I ran across like redneck cake. Do y'all know what that is? If you're not from the South, what redneck is? Oh my goodness. Oops. I have some relatives that probably proclaim that they are rednecks. Oreo cake. No bake. Chocolate eclair cake. Like, I could just... I want to make all of this. Last thing I wanted to share, South Carolina related, is this puzzle that I've had since a child. I know a lot of things about my state because of this
puzzle. So I highly recommend, if you have a child, to get them a puzzle with your state or your area or your country or some kind of something about where you live. And so I just wanted to share it really quick because I thought it was really cool. I know a lot of y'all like puzzles. So we are known as the Palmetto State, and our state motto is "While I breathe, I hope." And our state fruit is the peach. Our state tree is the palmetto, and our state beverage is the milk. I didn't even know you could have a state beverage until I did this puzzle. And Carolina wren is our state bird. The wild turkey is our state wild game bird. The shag is our state dance. The amethyst is our state gemstone, which is interesting to me because that's my birthstone. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that. I know I've been talking about like the low country that's like here. This region is called the PD, and then like in the middle is the Midlands, and then this here is the area I live in, which is the upstate. So fun fact. Don't know if anybody cares, but I thought I'd show it.
Alright, so update on Indigo Isle. I'm at chapter 12. So I read it a pretty good chunk. So I'm trying to remember everything that I was thinking because I do a lot of my reading in the middle of the night while I'm trying to stay awake for feeds. So I'm trying to think of everything that was going through my head because it is basically dark, so I can't film in pitch black. So anyways, so the southern vibes are really still going strong. I love that. Maybe one of my favorite parts about this book so far. But there's one part Sunny is talking about her assistant Lyrica, who's constantly complaining, and she's like, she took pity on her and got her something to drink because it was so hot outside, and she's like, bless her heart. And that is one of those things where, you know, the bless her heart phrase can either be condescending and not a good thing, and this is one of those cases, or it can be genuine, like, bless her heart, like, you know, like, I feel sorry for you, like, I feel your pain. But this was not one of those times. It was definitely the negative version. So I thought that was kind of funny. Heavens to Betsy is in here, along with some other phrases, I think. Let's see, what else? Oh, it was talking about accents and how the South Carolina accent is different from the Low Country or Charleston accent. And that is definitely true. I would say that really in the South, like every region or area or even state has kind of their own dialect of the Southern drawl, I guess. I would say that the Southern accent in the majority of South Carolina is more like softer. It's not as heavy, especially compared to like Louisiana, Mississippi. Like that's like deep South Southern drawl. Granted, there are a few people like that in South Carolina. My mother-in-law is one of them, who have a very strong, deep Southern accent. But for the most part, I would say most of us in South Carolina is more subtle. Like you can tell it's there, but it's not as strong compared to some other places. And Charleston, like the book set, has a unique dialect, I guess. It sounds different, like they say Charleston, you know, like it's just interesting how the different, like it's all Southern accent, but it's different. And mine, if you have an accent, like tell me if this is true for you too, but my accent, like I can't really tell it's there, but when I listen to myself I can hear it more. But it definitely comes out more whenever I'm mad or if I'm around other Southern speakers that have a stronger accent than I do, so it kind of like brings it out more. And my mother-in-law, like I said, she has a very strong accent, so whenever I'm hearing myself talking, I'm like, wow, I sound so Southern right now. It's crazy. But I will say, while I'm thinking about it, Book Lover Amanda has a great video on Southern sayings and Southern things, I guess. She's in Tennessee, and I love that video still to this day. I died laughing whenever I was watching it because the things we say are sayings. Like, for the longest time, I thought that was everybody knew what I was talking about and understood what I was saying, but apparently that's not the case, and I learned that. And I think that video showcases so well, like, Southern culture and how we say things, and it's just, I think it's funny just because a Southerner, because that's just how we talk. And so I think if you're going to read a book like Indigo Isle, where it's set in the South, I think that's like a good mood setter to kind of bring your mind into like what context you're reading it in. So I'll link her video in the description box so you can check it out. But I think it's a really good video. Amanda, you did a great job on that video. So anyways, let's see what else. Sweet tea, glass of sweet tea, darling, you know. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to say about that. So as far as like the story itself, I have read that Sunny has met the monster, and I was thinking as I was reading it, like, this sounds kind of like Beauty and the Beast. Like, he has his own reclusive, almost like a castle, because it's self-sustaining. Like, he doesn't have to rely on any connection to the outside world. Like, he has solar panels, he has a farm, you know, stuff like that, where it's completely self-sustained, so he doesn't really have to interact much with the outside world. And he's all alone, and he, like, anyways, so he's very gruff, and like the first time they meet was kind of strange. So she's looking for places to film. Looking at the time, I need to feed my child soon, but she's looking for places to film, and so she trespasses on this private property, and I'm like, I don't know about that. Me personally, like, I respect boundaries very well. I'm a rule follower, so it's very hard for my mind to wrap around someone blatantly like not following the rules and just kind of going for it. That's just not the way my brain goes. But apparently this character, she admitted it herself, she's not a rule follower, never has been. So she goes onto this island, and the first time she just scopes it out, and you know, it just seems kind of spooky kind of thing, and she's with her assistant, so she's not alone. She goes back a second time, she gets scared off by this figure that's like completely covered in, like, I think she said something about his eyes glinting or something, I don't know. And I was like, okay. So the third time she goes back, she actually does meet the guy. So like, she's constantly going back to this island, to this private property, and I'm like, girl, take a hint. Like, you're not supposed to be there. Like, you're trespassing. Like, that is, you don't do that. He does call the cops on her at one point. Like, she's like, I can't believe he called the cops on me. And I'm like, you're trespassing. Like, obviously he's gonna call the cops on you. Like, even if it's an island, like, that's his property. Like, you're not supposed to be there. So anyways, there's a lot of that back and forth, and there's some other things, like, he like gets back at her by stealing her boat, so he disappears for a few hours. What in the world he was doing, I don't know. But he leaves her on the island, and I'm like, you're just asking for trouble for a person who's obviously, like, doesn't respect boundaries, to go snooping. And she does. She ends up reading his personal journals, and I'm not going to say what was in them, but still, like, I would never do that. I don't know, that's someone's personal thoughts and feelings, like. But she was like, they shouldn't be in a library if you don't want them to be read. And like, obviously he's on an island by himself, like, that's his house, like, he's not expecting anybody to read them. He's purposely, like, removed himself from the world, like, I don't know. So there are trigger warnings for sexual assault, rape, and a toxic relationship, especially a long-term toxic relationship, and also drug abuse and addiction is in here as well. For the most part, the majority of that is like flashbacks or alluding to what has happened in the past, so it's not super detailed, but it's enough for you to know what happened. So just wanted to be cognizant of that and share that in case that is important to anybody to avoid or be aware of before you read. So yeah, that is definitely present. Okay, so I read something that I want to give an update on. So there is a significant trigger warning in chapter 13. And I already mentioned that there were already several possible trigger warnings. And this one I think is a lot more serious, I guess, more significant of a trigger warning because it is a scene that is somewhat written out, somewhat detailed. Like, it definitely could be a lot more detailed for sure. I've read secular books in the past that went into way more detail, way more graphic. So this is like towing the line. So I just want to make sure people are aware of that, because I can definitely see how you would get blindsided and not expecting it. I wasn't entirely expecting it to go as far as it did. But like I said, it wasn't as bad as I've read in secular fiction, for sure. It just definitely made me uncomfortable. It was I should tell you what it is. It is date rape, and like I said, it goes into a little bit more detail than I was expecting for Christian fiction. Usually it is alluded to, not actively happening. Like, when it's happening, it's described, but I don't know. Just be careful if that's something that is sensitive to you. Yeah, and along the same lines, like, I've been thinking, there's a couple of things that have been brought up in this book that I'm a little surprised that it's in a Christian fiction book. Like, Sunny's best friend, Liv, or V. I don't know where I got Liv from. V. Sunny caught her, like, doing the walk of shame. And like, she cusses, I think, as I read, and her favorite show is Grey's Anatomy and things like that. So, and she, I think there's a depiction of her drinking and dancing at a party too. But I like V's character, like her personality, but her choices obviously are not the best, and not walking the Christian life, or not obviously trying to walk the Christian life. And here's where I struggle with this. Like, it's very real. Like, as a Christian, you're going to have friends who aren't Christians and who have these other worldviews, other decisions that a Christian would make. Like, you know, and we're not supposed to, we're supposed to spread the gospel. We're not supposed to shy away from people who aren't Christians. So what I have a little trouble with, like, this is obviously realistic. Like, yes, people have one night stands. Yes, people's favorite show is Grey's Anatomy. I used to watch Grey's Anatomy, but now I realize how bad that show is. It's awful. It's just a cesspool of sin. But anyways, and I think Days of Our Lives is mentioned too, and I'm not as familiar with that one because it's older, but I'm pretty sure that is very drama filled as well. So my question is, should that stuff be mentioned in Christian fiction? Maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but it's almost like if you bring it up, you're giving it, like, any publicity is good publicity, or any attention is attention. But again,
it is realistic because this stuff does exist around us and we can't ignore it. We have to be aware of it. But in fiction, do you want to read about it? If it was the main character and they were like devoutly Christian, yes, I would definitely have a problem with this stuff being brought up. But since Sunny is kind of lost, it's almost like you expect the stuff to be leading them astray. I already talked about this a little bit, but I'm kind of leaning more towards I'm gonna forgive some mentions of things that aren't strictly Christian just because it is more realistic and it isn't the main character doing most of this stuff. Like, she definitely has made some poor decisions, that's for sure. Yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. I hope that made sense. It's like 11:30 at night and I'm really tired, so I don't even know if that made sense, but hopefully it came across the way I wanted it to. I just had some ponderings late at night, so I will update you whenever I get a little further. Hello again. So quick update, and sorry if you can hear my child. She's playing right at my feet with a toy, so she's very vocal. So anyways, sorry if you can hear her, but I just wanted to give a quick update that I've gotten to the part where there's more of a blatant romance burgeoning between the two characters, Sunny and I'm just going to say his name now, Hudson, and the monster. And I don't know how I feel about it. It's kind of, it feels very much like a 360 for his character, because he, like, literally he ran her off the island the very first time they met, like an animal, and now he's super sweet. But then again, he's not fully sweet because there's still like the standoffish, rough around the edges aspect to him. So I usually love the Beauty and the Beast retellings and the storyline itself, but I'm finding that I think I like it more in like a fantasy type setting or even like historical romance. Y'all know I have trouble with contemporary romance to begin with, and I just don't think I like the grumpy sunshine trope for contemporary romance. That just might be me. We'll see how it goes, but right now I'm just like, it's okay, but it's not really touching me. And that may be because I don't really like Sunny's character that much either. Hudson, I can take him or leave him. I don't really feel a strong attachment to either one of them, which I hate to say, but really what I like most about the book so far is the southern aspects to it. And I think one part, I can't remember exactly where I'm at, I don't have the book with me, but there's a part where they're making indigo together, and that was really cool piece of history. And I know the author probably did some research to be able to write that, so that was really neat to see. But just thought I'd give that quick update while hanging out with my daughter. Use every little bit of minutes I can to finish up this vlog. So catch up with you later.